going to discuss tongue today. Tongue is a muscular organ. It has a tip, it has a body and base, it has a dorsal surface and ventral surface, and it is covered with mucosa. The entire tongue is covered on all sides by mucosa, and on the dorsal surface there are projections of the lamina propria, which are called the papillae. Okay, and there are four papillae, which are circumvallate, foliate, fungiform, and filiform papillae. And there are four pairs of intrinsic muscles and four pairs of extrinsic muscles, which form the bulk of the tongue. Okay, as I said, tongue is a muscular organ, so most of the bulk of the tongue is formed by the four pairs of intrinsic and four pairs of extrinsic muscles on either side. Okay, so on each side there is four intrinsic and four extrinsic muscles. Okay, and overall the functions of the tongue include sensing the taste, helps in deglutition, articulation of speech, and along with that also uh, it helps in chewing and moving the food during deglutition as well as while chewing, and it is partly oral. So some part of the tongue is truly oral and part of it is pharyngeal, and it is attached to the mandible, hyoid bone, and the styloid process. The root of the tongue, which is on the back side of the tongue, posterior aspect, is essentially connected to the mandible and the hyoid bone. Okay, the dorsal surface or the dorsum of the tongue is convex, roughly in all directions, and it is divided into an anterior two-third, that is anterior part and a posterior part. The anterior part is two-thirds, forms the two-thirds of the tongue, and the posterior part forms one-third of the tongue, and these are separated by a V-shaped sulcus, which is called the sulcus terminalis. Okay, and at the apex of this V-shaped sulcus terminalis is a blind foramen called foramen cecum, which signifies the beginning of the thyroglossal duct, the embryological beginning of the thyroglossal duct, or thyroglossal duct, which actually goes down into the neck and forms the thyroid gland. Okay, so if you look at the tongue picture, you can see the surface that you see when you open your mouth, that is the dorsal aspect of the tongue or the dorsal surface, and in the center you can see there is a central median furrow or a median sulcus, which divides the tongue into right and left halves, and the tongue has a rough appearance because of the presence of those uh, papillae I told you. So there are numerous papillae, thousands of them over the tongue on the dorsal surface, and that gives the appearance of roughness to the tongue, and particularly some of the animals do have a very prominent papillae, which so some animals have very prominent papillae which are keratinized, and that, for example, if you take a cat, domestic cat, or any other cats, or the uh, herbivores like cattle, when they lick you, you feel a very sharp grating sensation because their tongues have very prominent filiform papillae which are long, and the tips of these papillae are keratinized, hence the roughness. Okay, so they tend to get keratinized depending on the aberration that happens repeatedly. So, that's about that is the dorsal aspect of the tongue, and dorsal aspect continues on the side, and the mucous membrane continues below onto the inferior aspect. That is the ventral surface of the tongue. Okay. So as you can see, the inferior surface is again lined by mucous membrane, and it shows a fimbriate margin. Okay. So there is a fimbriate margin, and in the midline, the inferior surface has an attachment to the floor of the mouth. That attachment is called the frenum linguae or lingual frenulum. Okay, this frenulum sometimes can extend up to the tip, but usually stops before the tip up to here, and it prevents excessive protrusion of the tongue, and it anchors the tongue to the floor of the mouth. Okay, blood vessels of the tongue supplying the tongue can be seen. The sublingual vessels, the vein and the artery, can be seen on the inferior surface of the tongue. Again, if you come back to the dorsal surface, so as I was explaining, the dorsal surface is oval, okay, and it has a tip. So that is the tip, okay, and this is the median furrow on the visible part of the tongue, and this V-shaped groove is the sulcus terminalis, and at the apex of this V-shaped tip, where the two limbs meet, there you will find that tiny depression which is called the foramen cecum, which is the beginning part of the thyroglossal duct, when the thyroglossal duct embryologically dips down to develop into thyroids. Okay, and in front of this sulcus terminalis, you can see there are some elevated, flattened, rounded structures which are called the valate or circumvallate papillae. These are surrounded by a trough or a depression all around them. Okay, these circumvallate papillae are papillae which contain as many as 200 taste buds in them, and these are essential for identifying the taste. Okay, apart from the circumvallate papillae, in the dorsum of the tongue you can see multiple numerous projections. These projections are called fungiform papillae. Okay, the fungiform papillae also contain taste buds. Okay, they are distributed all over the tongue, and there is no such thing as tongue, only some parts of the tongue can detect specific taste. All taste buds present all over the tongue can detect all the 5 types of taste. The tastes include the sour, salty, sweet, bitter, and umami. Okay, so there are 5 tastes. So these can be detected by the taste buds all over the tongue, and these leaf-like folds on the side of the tongue are called the foliate papillae. The foliate papillae in human beings are much less prominent, and they are not large like in the some of the herbivorous animals. Okay, and these foliate papillae are basically, again, they also contain taste buds, and overall there are approximately about 3000 to 4000 taste buds over the tongue. Okay, so there are valate papillae or circumvallate papillae here in front of the sulcus terminalis, and there are fungiform papillae all over the dorsum of the tongue, and there are foliate papillae on the lateral margins of the tongue. Okay, so these are the papillae, and apart from that, the 4th type of papillae include the filiform papillae, which are sharp pointed numerous papillae which do not contain any taste buds. Okay, so that is about the anterior 1/3 of the tongue. The posterior anterior 2/3. The posterior 1/3, which is behind this sulcus terminalis and also demarcated by the anterior pillar of the uh, palatoglossal arch. So there is posterior pillar and anterior pillar. The anterior pillar attaches to the side of the tongue, and the posterior 1/3 of the tongue is behind that attachment of the anterior pillar. Okay, so that demarcates the attachment of this anterior pillar of the palatoglossal arch, demarcates the oral part of the tongue, that is the anterior 2/3 or the oral part, and the posterior 1/3 or the pharyngeal part, oropharyngeal part. Okay, so and as you can clearly make out, the posterior 1/3 doesn't have appearance like the anterior 2/3. It is basically nodular in appearance. There are a lot of small elevations, in the center of which there is a pit. Okay, every one of these small, every one of these small rounded elevations has a central pit in them. Okay, as you can see, and these pits are nothing but the tonsillar crypts of the lingual tonsil. Okay, so you have these elevations that are formed because of the aggregation of lymphoid, diffuse lymphoid tissue under the mucosa of the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, and these collectively is called the lingual tonsil. The posterior 1/3 has lingual tonsil, which is the lowest or the inferior most aspect of the or part of the Waldeus ring. Okay, so the tonsillar crypts are present in these elevations in the middle. Okay, and posterior 1/3 in the substance of the tongue, there is quite a lot of adipose tissue that separates these lymphoid follicles and the muscles and the connective tissue. There is adipose tissue as well as there are muscles in the posterior 1/3, and there are glands, the serous glands, which are also present under the mucosa, which secrete serous fluid into the tongue, and some of the secretions which are poured into the troughs around the valate papillae. The depressions around the valate papillae are called, basically they contain salivary lipase. Okay, so that is about the dorsal aspect of the tongue. So it has a tip, it has a base, so that a root or base of the tongue, that posterior 1/3 is also called the base of the tongue, and the body. So that central part is the body, and it has two lateral margins. So these are the lateral margins of the tongue. Okay, and posteriorly the tongue is separated from the epiglottis by two depressions which are called vallecula. Okay, so there are deep depressions. The mucous membrane of the tongue continues on to the epiglottis. Okay, and in the middle there is a median glossoepiglottic fold, and laterally there are lateral glossoepiglottic folds which go from the tongue to the epiglottis, and between the median glossoepiglottic fold and the lateral glossoepiglottic fold is a depression which is called the vallecula. And this is important landmark because when you try to intubate a patient, pass an endotracheal tube into the trachea, you put the laryngoscope is placed in the vallecula and the tongue is lifted forwards and upwards so that you can visualize the epiglottis and also see the larynx, inside of the larynx, so that you can pass the endotracheal tube through the vocal cords. Okay. So this diagram will show you the gross features of the tongue. Moving on to the muscles of the tongue. So as I said, there are 4 extrinsic muscles which include the genioglossus muscle, hyoglossus muscle, the styloglossus and the chondroglossus along with it, and palatoglossus. Okay. So there are 4 extrinsic muscles. Chondroglossus will come to that little later. The genioglossus, hyoglossus, styloglossus and the palatoglossus muscles, and along with that the chondroglossus, sometimes it is considered with the hyoglossus, part of the hyoglossus muscle. And the intrinsic muscles are, there are 2 longitudinal muscles, the superior and the inferior longitudinal. Okay. There is a transverse muscle and a vertical muscle. All of these are present on either side. On every side of the tongue, you will find a superior longitudinal, inferior longitudinal, transverses and vertical tongue muscles. Okay. So these are the extrinsic and intrinsic muscles of the tongue. So as you can see in this diagram, the extrinsic muscles are called extrinsic because they are not present only within the substance of the tongue. They are arising from somewhere else, but ultimately they end up inserting or forming the part of the tongue. So you can see this is the styloid process here. From the styloid process and the stylomandibular ligament, the muscle goes to the lateral margin of the tongue here. So this is the styloglossus muscle. So all the tongue muscles are called glossus, okay, the extrinsic muscles. So this is the styloglossus muscle, which arises from the styloid process, anterior part and the tip of the styloid process and the stylomandibular ligament, and goes and gets inserted into the lateral aspect of the margin of the tongue, and some fibers actually intermingle with the hyoglossus muscle. So this is the hyoglossus muscle. Okay. So styloglossus, some fibers mix with the or intermingle with the hyoglossus muscle. Okay. This styloglossus muscle, basically because of its attachment from the styloid process, acts like a pulley or a anchor point which lifts up the tongue and pulls it backwards. Okay, it lifts and pulls the tongue backwards. So that is the action of the styloglossus. And then you have the hyoglossus here, which is arising from most of the body and the greater corner of the hyoid bone and getting inserted into the tongue, forming part of the bulk of the tongue as well. And you have another fan shaped triangular muscle, which is the genioglossus. This genioglossus arises from the superior genial tubercle, and it has 3 parts: the inferior part, the intermediate part and the superior part. The inferior part is attached by an aponeurosis to the hyoid bone and also goes up to the back, and the intermediate part forms the bulk of the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, and the superior part is attached all the way from the tip up to the root of the tongue. Okay. And this genioglossus, because of its attachment to the genial tubercle, it is going from front to back. So whenever this muscle is in contracted position, it keeps the tongue from falling backwards into the pharynx, and that is obstructing the airway. Okay, so genioglossus is called the safety muzzle of the tongue. Okay, it's called the safety muzzle of the tongue because it prevents the tongue from falling back into the pharynx or aerodigestive tract, so that the tongue doesn't obstruct the breathing. Okay, the last one will be the palatoglossus, which comes from the palate, soft palate, and runs in the anterior palatoglossal arch and inserts into the sides of the tongue. Okay, so that helps in lifting up the tongue. Okay, here in the tongue you can see, now you can see this is the mucous membrane covering the tongue. Okay, and this is the mucous membrane gets reflected onto the mandible below and maxilla above to form the gingiva. Okay, and you can see there are numerous muscle bundles here. Okay, so this is the styloglossus, okay, which is inserted on the side, and this is the genioglossus, which is in the center. Okay, and the hyoglossus is between the styloglossus and the genioglossus, and as you can see there are other fibers as well running across like this and also within the tongue like this, and there are fibers running like this. Okay, so these are the intrinsic muscles. Okay, so the extrinsic muscles are styloglossus, genioglossus, hyoglossus, and the palatoglossus. The intrinsic muscles are named according to their direction of the fibers. Okay, so you have the superior longitudinal, which is above here. Okay, which goes from front to back, and there is inferior longitudinal here in the below the separated by the transverses. So that is transverses and that is vertical fibers. So genioglossus, it originates from the superior genial tubercle, inserts by three parts inferior to the hyoid bone, intermediate part to the back of the tongue, and superior to the apex up to root on the ventral surface. And nerve supply is hypoglossal nerve for all the tongue muscles except the palatoglossus muscle. Okay, except palatoglossus, all the muscles of the tongue, including styloglossus, genioglossus, hyoglossus, and all the intrinsic muscles, that is the superior and inferior longitudinal, vertical, and the transverse muscles, all of them are supplied by the hypoglossal nerve. And action of genioglossus is protrusion of the tip, and it also depresses the central part when both the sides of the genioglossus act together and causes divergence of the tongue to the opposite side when it acts unilaterally. Okay, so when genioglossus acts unilaterally, that is only one side genioglossus acts, it is going to cause diversion of the tongue to the opposite side. Okay, and it is supplied by the sublingual branch of lingual artery and submental branch of the facial arteries. So that is the genioglossus. Coming to hyoglossus, this originates from the body and the greater corner of the hyoid bone, as I told you, and it is inserted to the side of the tongue between styloglossus laterally and the inferior longitudinal muscle medially, and slightly below you have the genioglossus, the inferior part of the genioglossus. And there are important relations of the hyoglossus muscle. So there are superficially, it is related to the digastric tendon, the stylohyoid muscle, stylohyoid ligament as well, and the styloglossus muscle, mylohyoid, lingual nerve, submandibular ganglion, sublingual gland, and the deep part of the submandibular gland, and the duct, and the hypoglossal nerve, and the deep lingual vein. So all of these are superficial relations. That means superficial to hyoglossus, you have digastric muscle, the anterior tendon of the digastric, stylohyoid, styloglossus, mylohyoid, lingual nerve, submandibular ganglion, sublingual gland, and deep part of the submandibular gland, because the deep part, as you know, it hooks around posterior aspect of the mylohyoid, and the deep part lies between deeper to mylohyoid and over the hyoglossus muscle. There is hypoglossal nerve which lies on the hyoglossus muscle. The deeper relations include the stylohyoid ligament, genioglossus muscle, the middle constrictor of the pharynx, the inferior longitudinal muscle of the tongue, and the glossopharyngeal nerve. So, hypoglossal nerve is superficial, glossopharyngeal nerve is deeper to hyoglossus muscle, and blood supply and innervation is exactly like genioglossus, that is hypoglossal nerve and the lingual artery, and the action is it depresses the tongue because it is attached from hyoid bone and goes into the tongue. Whenever it contracts, it brings the tongue down into the onto the floor of the tongue. Styloglossus, as I said, arises from the styloid process. It is one of the shortest and smallest muscles attached to the styloid process and inserts into the longitudinal inserts by two parts. There is a longitudinal part and there is an oblique part. The longitudinal part enters the tongue dorsolaterally, blends with the inferior longitudinal muscle in front of the hyoglossus, and the oblique part overlaps the hyoglossus and mixes with it. Okay, and action of the styloglossus, it draws the tongue backwards and upwards. Okay, it pulls the tongue backwards and upwards, and palatoglossus is studied along with the soft palate. It arises from the palatine aponeurosis. Okay, arises from palatine aponeurosis and inserts onto the lateral margin of the tongue behind the styloglossus and hyoglossus. Okay, and action is elevation of the tongue. Okay, and nerve supply of palatoglossus is by the pharyngeal plexus, mainly by the accessory nerve part. Okay, the pharyngeal plexus is contributed by different nerves, but main contribution is by the accessory nerve, and this pharyngeal plexus supplies the palatoglossus muscle. Okay, and blood supply is again lingual or the tonsillar branch or the pharyngeal branch of the external carotid. Okay. Now coming to the intrinsic group of muscles, the superior longitudinal is a thin longitudinal and it has thin longitudinal and oblique fibers. It extends all the way from the back of the tongue or the base of the tongue or root of the tongue. There is a submucous fibrous tissue underneath the mucous membrane in the behind, extends all the way up to the tip. Okay, comes up to the tip. So arises from the fibrous tissue near the epiglottis and the median lingual septum, goes up to the lingual margins. The inferior longitudinal muscle, which is again a narrow band of muscle which is close to the inferior surface. It is between genioglossus and hyoglossus, and it extends from the root of the tongue to the apex. Okay, so superior longitudinal and inferior longitudinal are almost similar. One is superficial or just under the mucous membrane, the other one is quite deeper, and the inferior longitudinal is between the genioglossus muscle and the hyoglossus muscle, and the transverse muscle passes laterally from the median fibrous septum. Remember, I told you there was a median furrow on the dorsal surface of the tongue. That is a demarcating line where the the lateral lingual swellings from the first branchial arch meet. Okay, so embryologically the tongue is developed mainly from the anterior 2/3, mainly developed from the first branchial arch, and the two lateral lingual swellings overgrow the tuberculum impar and they meet in the midline, and where they meet there is a fibrous septum dividing or demarcating that line of joining, and that fibrous septum gives origin to the transversus muscle, okay, transversus linguae muscle, and the rest of the tongue, the posterior to 1/3, develops from a combination of, basically there is some contribution from the second arch, which is overgrown by third and fourth arches. The second arch derivative probably gets buried deeper, okay, and the rest of the posterior 1/3 develops from the third and fourth pharyngeal arches or the hypobranchial. The muscles of the tongue are all developed from the occipital myotomes. Okay, muscles of the tongue are developed from occipital myotomes, and this transverse muscle, after arising from the median fibrous septum, goes to the lateral margins of the tongue and blends with the palatopharyngeus muscle in the lateral wall of the pharynx. And the vertical muscle extends from the dorsal to the ventral aspects of the tongue, and all of these are supplied by the lingual artery as arterial supply and as a nerve supply by the hypoglossal or the cranial nerve number 12. Okay, so that's about the muscles. Now coming to the blood supply and the lymphatic drainage, the main artery supplying the tongue is the lingual artery. There are additional blood vessels that also supply, but the main supply is from the lingual artery, and this lingual artery divides into three different branches, like the dorsal lingual artery, then the sublingual artery, and the deep lingual artery. Okay, the dorsal lingual artery, there are usually 2 or 3 small vessels. They arise medial to hyoglossus and ascend to the posterior part of the tongue. Okay, so as you can see here, this diagram, this is the lingual artery, and this dorsal lingual artery goes to the back of the tongue. Okay, and it supplies the mucous membrane and the palatoglossal arch, tonsils, soft palate, and the epiglottis. Okay, the sublingual artery arises in the anterior margin of the hyoglossus. It passes forwards and between the genioglossus and the mylohyoid. The sublingual artery arises at the anterior margin of the hyoglossus and it goes forward between genioglossus and the mylohyoid. It supplies the sublingual gland, mylohyoid muscle, and the buccal and gingival mucous membrane. So that would be the sublingual artery. It will also supply these muscles. So you can see there is genioglossus muscle here, the geniohyoid and mylohyoid will be like this. Okay, so sublingual artery goes underneath them and it supplies the structures. Okay, the deep lingual artery is the terminal part of the lingual artery and it is found on the inferior surface of the tongue near the lingual frenulum. Again, you can see in the central part there is lingual frenulum here. Near to that you can see the deep lingual artery along with the deep lingual veins. Okay, so these are the blood vessels. Along with this, you will also have some additional supply from tonsillar and ascending palatine branches of the facial artery and the ascending pharyngeal artery, which can be a branch of the external carotid artery. Okay, the lingual veins are formed from the joining of dorsal lingual, deep lingual veins and venae comitans which accompany the hypoglossal nerve. Okay, so these dorsal lingual veins drain most of the dorsum of the tongue and the sides of the tongue, and they join the lingual veins accompanying the lingual artery and enter into the internal jugular vein. There are various variations how these can enter. They sometimes they also join the common facial vein or the deep facial vein, okay, and ultimately enter the internal jugular vein. The deep lingual vein begins near the tip of the tongue and runs backwards just beneath the mucous membrane on the inferior surface. So you can clearly see the tortuous deep lingual vein on the under surface of the tongue. Okay. Ultimately, that also joins the sublingual vein and forms the vena comitans nervi hypoglossai. Okay. So coming to the lymphatic drainage, which is one of the most important aspects of the studying tongue, it is mainly divided into three main regions. So there is marginal, central, and dorsal parts. Okay. So the anterior region of the tongue drains into the marginal and central lymphatic vessels. I will tell you the connection of these lymphatic vessels to their respective glands little later. So the marginal and central vessels drain the anterior main 2/3 of the tongue. Okay, so they drain the anterior region of the tongue. Okay, and posterior part of the tongue behind that sulcus terminalis drains into the dorsal lymphatic vessels in the tongue. As you can see in this, so there are marginal as well as central lymphatic channels, okay, and there are dorsal lymphatic channels. So most of the lymphatic channels from the marginal and central lymphatic vessel or part of the tongue, they drain into the various groups. I mean, they can either drain into submental nodes, some of them, and mainly the marginal ones from the tip can drain into the submental group of nodes. The majority of the marginal or central drain into the submandibular nodes, okay, and the dorsal group drain into the jugulo-digastric or the upper deep cervical group of lymph nodes, okay, across the midline. There is no clear-cut demarcation whether they will drain into one side or the other, because these lymphatic channels are interconnected. Okay. From the central part, the lymphatic channels from the central part actually they interweave or they cross over. They can drain into either side. Okay. The more central regions drain on to both the sides. The marginal vessels which drain the tongue from the apex up to the frenulum descend under the mucosa, and they either enter the submental or the submandibular nodes, or sometimes they also pass to jugulo-omohyoid node. Jugulo-omohyoid node, and some vessels pass into the inferior to the sublingual gland and accompany the venae comitans hypoglossai. Okay, and they end in the jugulo-digastric nodes, and sometimes one vessel descends further to reach jugulo-omohyoid node. Okay, so basically marginal vessels drain into submental, submandibular, then the jugulo-omohyoid group of lymph nodes, and some also go to jugulo-digastric. Okay, so these are the nodes that drain the marginal parts of the tongue. Vessels from the lateral margin end in the submandibular nodes, and remaining end in the jugulodigastric or jugulo-omohyoid nodes, and vessels from the posterior part of the margin of the tongue, that is the side of the tongue, they traverse the pharyngeal wall and enter the jugulodigastric lymph nodes. Okay. The central vessels, they ascend between the fibers of the two genioglossi, and they follow the lingual veins deep to, they follow the lingual veins and enter the deep cervical group of lymph nodes, the upper deep cervical group of lymph nodes, mainly the jugulodigastric and jugulo-omohyoid nodes. And some may pierce mylohyoid and may enter the submandibular nodes. Okay. So these central lymphatic vessels, since they cross over from one side to the other side, if there is some cancer that has developed in the central part, then you might have to do a bilateral neck dissection to remove those affected lymph nodes. Okay. And the dorsal vessels, they drain the post-sulcal or the posterior one-third of the tongue and the circumvallate papillae. They run posterior inferiorly. Those in the center pass bilaterally, join the marginal vessels, and they all pierce the pharyngeal wall, passing around the external carotid artery to reach jugulodigastric and jugulo-omohyoid lymph nodes. So the main ultimate destination of most of the lymphatics from the tongue are jugulodigastric and jugulo-omohyoid lymph nodes. Okay. So occasionally one vessel may descend posterior to the hyoid bone and may end in the jugulo-omohyoid node. Okay. So these are the jugulodigastric and these are the jugulo-omohyoid, and as you can see, ultimately lymphatics either come into the jugulodigastric or the jugulo-omohyoid lymph nodes. Okay. So tongue is a complex organ which is supplied by 5 different nerves. Okay. The nerve carrying the general sensation from the tongue are basically two. The anterior two-thirds, because it is derived from the first branchial arch, is supplied by the mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve via the lingual nerve. So all the general sensations like pain, touch, temperature, okay, vibration are all carried by the lingual nerve. The taste sensation from the anterior two-thirds is carried by the cauda tympani nerve, and posterior one-third, the general sensation as well as the taste sensation are carried by the tonsillar branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay. Some part of the posterior one-third near the vallecula is supplied by the internal laryngeal branch of the vagus nerve. The hypoglossal nerve, as I told you, supplies motor innervation to the tongue muscles except the palatoglossus muscle, which is supplied by the accessory nerve. Okay. So that completes the tongue.